It's Not About the Lemons. I thought this was a great piece. I really appreciate when I can feel the history between the characters and I can feel that a lot happened. And I am immediately intrigued with this piece from the beginning of what happened, how did we get here, and what are all these dynamics? How can I make sense of it? The human brain loves to make a narrative out of it, and I thought it was really effectively done. I thought the performances were so grounded and held that weight of the backstory brilliantly. So I thought it made for a really, really great psychologically rich piece throughout, and I thought the pacing was great at organically unveiling those connections.
It's Not About the Lemons. This was really, really moving and really, really intense. And I think when you're, having a scene or having a movie or having any situation that's at like a funeral or a wake or a memorial of some kind, you already have such heightened emotional stakes because everyone in those situations is already experiencing so many different things. So when you set a scene there and you set a storyline that takes place during, that kind of grieving or, the after death process, it's always really, really interesting because there are, like I said, such heightened emotional stakes, especially with that because family gets back together again. If people have been drinking, that adds another layer to it. So I really liked how they started this and how they settled this with her kind of going back and taking a moment just alone in her car before she walked in. And then obviously like her struggling to be back in that place, interacting with those people, but it didn't deter her because she was determined to talk to her sister. And I thought the scene in the kitchen between the two of them was really, really well done, with the cutting and the lemons, and there was just so much tension, and they worked the use of the small room really, really well, because you could just feel the unspoken words between them in that moment.
Lemons was a really beautiful film surrounding sisterhood and sort of growing up together in a traumatic household and possibly abusive. I wasn't entirely sure, but I really loved the use of the home videos in this film to give background to these characters and their relationships to each other. It was a really cool way to add that without taking us out of the story. I thought that the acting in this was excellent, especially between the sisters. I think that they played that relationship really believably. They had great chemistry, even though most of the times they were supposed to be butting heads, but you could really feel that anger and resentment coming from Megan. And I loved the ending. It was left a little bit ambiguous, but I really loved that we are given hope that there is a reconciliation at the end. I thought that the reactions from the family members were really real. I think most of this film felt very real, and overall I think this is a really cool film surrounding this relationship, and I did really enjoy it.
Really interesting movie, very good, very, very intense, it was it was difficult, seeing how this woman's having to deal with this trauma at a funeral. It's the kind of thing that we've seen this portrayed. Just kind of reminds you that how difficult it is for families sometimes to come together, and they only come together during bad times. But for here in this case, we can see why some very bad things have happened. So it was nice to see the two women come together at the end. We could see that there was going to be a resolution, but it was kind of cool that it was kind of cut off at the end and kind of left ambiguous. We don't know the exact conversation, but we don't have to. We had that moment of their eyes meeting and knowing what was going to happen. So a very cool resolve to the film there. So it was nicely acted by everybody involved, nicely edited, written, nice direction. So yeah, good luck with this. I hope it does well for you.
This was a really great piece about trauma and loss and family, and I think you do a great job of showcasing it through these two sisters dealing with grief, but also um, the the trauma of growing up in their household, coming back at once and trying to move on and mourn and all that goes with it. I think you do a great job of establishing their character quickly on, but also going into exposition with these family videos. I think that was a really creative turn, and a really fun way to provide more context without a flashback. Thank you for that. I think was really creative. I think it was acted out really, really well. I think you bring up a lot of really great points about dealing with trauma and showing a really complex view of that. Great writing, great acting. Overall, it was a really, really great piece to watch. Very, very well done.
This is about a loss, a complicated relationship from an estranged daughter who comes back home for the sake of her father's funeral and faces the aftermath of these decisions she's made. There is a clear tension, you can cut it with a knife, and her clothing options are still in suite with the theme of wearing black to a funeral, but she isn't by any means dressing up for the occasion. She's left her sister behind, and all this character wants is to have a one-on-one moment with her, and what she gets in return is silent treatment. Her sister is clearly angry that she's been left behind. I kind of would have preferred a more sadistic ending rather than seeing the sister step out onto the street. We strive for happy endings, but in these situations, there are no winners, and we see that our lead's true regret is simply leaving her behind. And they have this tense moment while she's in the kitchen chopping the lemons, and then you see that, it's not about the lemons. It's not about what's really going on here. It's about what's going on, uh, you know, beneath beneath the fruit. She has zero interest opening this can of worms with anyone else. I give this character a standing ovation for even, going home to do this. She's stronger than I could ever be. She has these flashbacks as she's in her childhood home, reflecting the decades worth of damages her family's caused. I think it would have been a bolder move to not have this happy, hopeful ending. Uh, I think people would talk more if the sister had never walked out. We don't always get what we want, especially with a stubborn, prideful family.